A lot of you, of course. So what do you think? What do you think?
Design improvement.
It's actually not used for cooking.
No?
No.
Oh.
It's for serving.
That's a tipo.
No comments about Harry Potter, please. No, it's actually, this was used for cleaning the towels. When you clean up, you put it in there, boiling water. So this is an original, but it wasn't for cooking. The cooking was, this is photographs of the original. So this is where the cooking took place. The reason why this is important in the story of Quilliam, so as I said, he became Muslim in 1887. 1888 is the year that things really started to take off. And the reason why was because, as I said, he was a man of vision. So Christmas Day, 1888, he opened up that door to anybody that wants to eat. And he said, on this day, anybody who wants to eat are welcome here. And so Christmas Day, 1888 was and people, free food? Of course. So all of the poor people from other areas would come because they knew there was free food here and hot food on a cold Christmas day. It made the local newspaper. From there it then got into the Times of London, and the headline of the Times of London, on the front page it says, "Musulman feeds the poor on Christmas Day." So it made the front page news that Quilliam had, and it set a precedent. They continued to do it every Christmas for some years, but it set in motion what his real work was that he started to literally feed the poor. And when I said the guitar shop at the end was bombed, the last two houses that he bought on the end of his terrace, he turned into an orphanage, which he called Medina House. But the interesting thing about Medina House was that they weren't orphans; they were street kids. We're talking about Dickens' time, where all the street kids, you could the kids could be taken off the street and they were brought to Quilliam, and Quilliam would look after them. And so for a large number of those kids, they were just brought up in the way of Quilliam, which you'll see is not so clearly defined as the kind of Islam that he had. He was very orthodox. He was registered with the Ottoman Sultan as a scholar in Hanafi fiqh, for example. So he was known as a Hanafi. The lady that had become Muslim on that day at the teetotalers, the temperance movement, she wrote a book called The Muslim as Prayer, which was written it's still in existence. So there was a lot of things going on in the way that he was doing things, and it was very unique, and it put a lot of challenges. And alhamdulillah, it's as I said, he had to leave, and things grew elsewhere. The Medina House is interesting because I don't know if any of you know Habib Kadhim. So he's a scholar from Yemen. He came to visit Liverpool once. He's from Yemen, so there's some kind of Yemeni connection. But he said, I want to go to the cathedral, the Liverpool Cathedral. And he said, there are some awliya buried there, some saints. And if you know the history of the cathedral, if there was a place of spirituality even before the cathedral was built, it was known as the water used to flow under there. It was water for healing. So in a kind of a spiritual sense, the idea that there were saints buried in that graveyard makes some kind of sense. But why would this Yemeni scholar, who doesn't know Liverpool, point that specific place out? Because you would understand it was something to do with the history of Muslims in Liverpool. And there's no evidence that there were Muslims buried there at any time historically. I went there and I spent ages just walking around looking for Muslim graves. As you know, I'm a bit of a weirdo. But then it clicked that there's a pauper's grave there, which is full of orphans who died during the period of 1880 to about 1910. And I realised that probably all of the kids, because obviously life expectancy wasn't very high, it's quite likely that some of those kids from Medina House ended up being buried over there. His own wife, I believe, was buried in what was the circus, was also a place where there was a few graves. But anyway, I haven't got any proof for that, but I've got some letters to indicate that. So that's what was happening at that particular time. Any questions before we go to the actual original mosque area?
The question, the council may kept this area as it is, or the used to be offices around it?
No, this used to be office buildings. This was an office building.
So all they were hidden behind the plaster wall.
And then, but they used to refer to the mosque where we're going to now as the mosque. So it used to be the birth, death and marriages section of the council. And there was a taxi driver said, yeah, we always know that the mosque. If you get off at the train station, oh, we want to go to the council, which building? Oh, births, deaths and marriages. They said, oh, yeah, the mosque. And then people used to know it as the mosque, even though it hadn't been a mosque for
All right.
80 years. They still refer to it.
It's just an identity there,
Yeah.
right?
And it's interesting, so the vault of the births, deaths and marriages registry was where the mosque is, and they would say within the office, oh, take this down to the mosque. They didn't used to take it down to the vault because that building was, that part of the building, even up until the days it ended, was called the mosque. So they knew the history of it, it's just that it didn't come to life, so to speak, until the Quilliam Society were established, and they've tried their best to rebuild it. And Mu'min is actually one of the key people in driving this forward. Yeah, he's a good guy. Any other questions? Right. Yeah.